Well, good morning as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful Monday morning, May 20th, year 2024, here with the Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there to make it your business to enhance and fortify this concept as a second nature of yours, which is even more credit to you out there. So here we're continuing in that sense, and within the boundaries of that concept, which seems to be very flexible and very accommodating, and and then of course that which follows by way of magic that forming every day, at every step, at every stage, and we are becoming witnesses, witnessers. uh, I had the privilege to be close to this reality for so many years, 3 4 decades already here, um, and it just makes sense with the entire scheme of things. Even though I hate to use the word scheme, but entire configurations of opportunities and possibilities, and find my way in the thickness of the uh, brush and making it again. Kind of favoring the word um, second nature, to have that within that which is second nature to you, and therefore equals that instinctive approach or reaction. So I think over the weekend had some conversations over the fact that over the issues of art, and over the issues of the relevance of art, over the relevance of the lifestyle of the artist, and the intentions of the artist, and then the poetry of the artist, the music of the artist. Even though there were no poetry books written or music that's been recorded and published, but it's all within the capabilities of a person that can produce, for example, what it is that we're witnessing right now. That I can just, I don't know, for that sake, I can say the painting behind me there. The doorway to the. You know what? How about if I was just kind of take a second look at it like that? It is the doorway to like an upside down new point of reference, an upside down um, in, promoting the means of communication. I remember the early years of my forming an opinion in front of a canvas, because I formed my opinion vis-a-vis many other aspects of art and mediums of art. But painting was. I remember the early nights. Well, even though the early nights, the long nights in the early days. That's what I mean to say, actually. And I used to turn on American movie classics, like AMC. What was it, like 90, channel 96 or 97 or something, ancient. So that was running black and white, good old American movies, and that sustained my um, um I should say, like, outbursts, but they're outbursts of something really extremely positive. But it's just when it gets to be too much, it gets to be too much, and it doesn't matter what is it that you're promoting or relating to or referencing, good or bad or up or down or weak or strong. It's just when it gets to be too much, it gets to be too much. So if you are like myself, you would have the answer, the technical answer, to balance things, to bring things to a temporary normal, and then quickly enough to a given normal. And that normal is actually serving as a base for all the new age aspects of uh, how we are how we are welcoming that which is already formed its identity. But the fact is that it needs to be introduced to yeah. I think coming back of the idea that's the thing that we're going to get from all these items coming towards us from the future. The understanding of the now, actually it makes the now possible, because if it pushes towards the past as it lands on the present, so let's just say there's just the fact of landing and making the adjustment, you can already touch and go into the past and back to the present, anchored, not to anchor, but already establishedly anchored. So that's the thing that we can take from it. That we need to accept it into our lives. A futuristic accident that will find itself actually heading this way towards us, and then coming to terms with the what is the nature of the now vis-a-vis the interaction, the contact with the past, a brief one, extremely brief one. And I know it might not make sense to you, but when you go into the smart of early days, and I'm like having all these stories being made in my mind, and early childhood insecurities come and wash over me, and I'm like, wait a second, and that's long before I even attempted to establish some kind of a decent anything of a full body of work, whether it's 6 or 60 paintings. I couldn't fathom this concept. I couldn't fathom this reality. I couldn't fathom this demand, this requirement. So I really worked hard on being able to work on the fact that how can I be able to fathom it, to understand, to house it, to take it all in and work with it and send it forth. Just that, make it casual, dealing with all these great things and deep and high and noble and whatnot in a very regular fashion. So difficult, so difficult, so difficult to do that. So I always welcomed. I didn't say, I don't want to say welcome. I don't welcome pain or difficulties or obstacles, even though they can be helpful. But I can do without, kind of thing. It's not like I won't feel challenged enough if I'm not going to have like 15 challenges one after the other. A couple of challenges should tell a story about a person. How you handle, how you react, how you conclude, how you resolve. And are you left with friends at the end of the story, or the end of the scene? Did you gain more? Did you gain more enemies or more friends? Something like that. Whatever. And also accepting a cliche version of something that we are actually good to go with. It's noble enough, it's earthy enough, it's simple enough, it's complicated and sophisticated enough, it's ugly enough, it's beautiful enough, it's accommodating enough, it's selfish enough. So everything you attach to enough, it will be there. I mean, for real. And it's not, and it's because that celebration can open up, if you were to call it by its name. And it depends, what the name goes according to the time. So if you hit the time right, then you have the name, I guess. So anyway, this configuration is actually just maintaining the structure, the composition, the skeleton going, accomplishing a day's work, so to speak, and there's that kind of winding out and you know reflecting, creating the room to allow the body to wear a new outfit for the night. And that outfit, emotional and all the way from religious to modern to sophisticated to super realism, modernism, and still maintaining a line of conservatism. I was actually a conservative because, as a painter, I mean, because I was like, well, first of all, I don't have that much to show for. So it's like I'm just super convinced that I got the answers and that I can live up to my expectations or whatever. It was just like I wanted to enter this unfamiliar but very exciting reality stage called art, painting, paintings, canvases, brushes, paint choices. And so I was already so comfortable in that frame of mind. So I just imported it or exported it into the next thing. And it happened to be um, a very challenging reality suddenly, or some testy times. But for me, it was accepted as if just, it's a regular day in the office. But while in the background, work ethics is at its extreme and at its best and at its most balanced and most kind of peace with itself. And 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 the library, yes, the library that we document, it's just we realize because while we document the library, actual production doesn't stop. So this is a new factor, because when groups in earlier years used to get together and try and figure out, let's create a problem and find a way to resolve it so we can have something going, which I have no problem with. If you choose your games and you describe it as the games that you use in order to uh, 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 distinguish that which is outside of the suggested composition that serves as a backup, that is actually the story, while you're actually giving them a ready kind of statement to go that say, well, this is pretty much describing who I am and what I'm doing and what people know about me and what I think people think of me, and where is my place and what is the value of this place, what is the definition, the level of warmth in the heart that's going in and out, the immediate vicinity of action. Like there's the rhythm, of course, the rhythm that serves that. Once there's a somewhat of an artificial indirect go ahead signal, or go ahead gestures. It's very quickly becomes almost too late to undo. But then you meet these kind of weird, freaky, maybe situations, very demanding, very unfamiliar, with a certain demeanor, but for some reason it's like wearing an universal capability of withstanding, the weather, the moods of people, the gestures, the tackles, the rubbing, just all of that. And you find out to your surprise that actually, for some reason, Mother Nature arranged for us to have that specific particular state of mind, mood, in a certain time where the process that traveled from distances from a different direction is meeting with yourself, and immediately the the um, the achieved and saved data as a description of an era, of an attempt, of a journey, is blending right into it. It's like literally, instead of retrieving to park itself for the winter, so to speak, it's just jumping into a moving train, and that just you know that is just like completion, completion, um, completion. Like really, because point of impact completion. So, and then in in that description, you want to be able to free yourself from yourself to begin with, to get to that point that I just described, and then you want to free yourself from that what I've just described. There was the cause of that, which was, so it's a never-ending process. But in the same token, because you keep some tension when it comes to, well, you must take it from where it is today. If you compare it tomorrow, or take a second look tomorrow, and every tomorrow that comes, take a second look, you'll be kind of noticing that the things are kind of uh, uh, there's some activities, the numbers are going up. There's some process that is alive and going, that's adding to the deposits, to the savings account, to the increasing awareness of whatever it is that's under discussion. It can be also philosophical and psychological and just humoristic. It can be serious. It can be contemplating. It can be philosophical. It can be even more philosophical. It can be more psychological than philosophical, and it can be also a hands-on clinic. How many times did I find myself suddenly realize that I'm giving myself a clinic? Because if I was, and I used to do that a lot in my studio, I used to act. Who cares? No one is there. Nobody's to judge me. I mean, there's no way in hell, not even a thousand times over, that you would ever find me to on a stage doing what I'm, and I could, technically speaking, what I do in my studio when I'm alone, in order to convince myself of whatever point of view to make it more real. Because if I speak to myself, if I talk to myself on a one-dimensional reality, I'm getting nowhere. If I'm talking to myself on a three-dimensional, but still making a decision in the period of transformation, which is pretty fast, but it will take, let's say, whatever that much time. I uh, I will have the privilege to stay in the existing location for a little while longer. That little while longer, man, it creates the deposits of your entire ingenious, genius, whatever out of this world ever solutions, achievements, discoveries, enlightenments, all combined together just from that, just a little bit extra that was added to it to begin with. So I'm not a part of the story to a point where I do not exist. So I'm the one who's actually observing it. It's still alive, seeing can still do something about it. Like I can go to my studio, and I mean, just imagine I can go I can go to my studio like I do, let's say, every day, but every fifth day I will do something really that will be aimed calling. Okay, I can plan now, and let's just say I'm planning now. Okay, next Thursday, whatever, this place, that place, from this time to this time, and then you go every five or every the title of the show every fifth, and subtitle will be every five. Okay. And then the description of the full body of work, which will have to be achieved in a matter of 5 days, or in a matter of being reminded with every artistic encounter that you ever had in your life regarding to anything at any given time, something that you can really draw out, pull out from your kind of earlier stages of suppression, and that it's still kind of drowsy, but it's still on the surface. You can maintain communication. So because there's a lot that you get out of it, and because now it's going to vanish, it's going to go away, it's going to disappear, never to come back in the form that you just experienced. And that is a great opportunity for you as an artist to uh, have make sure that the right things will happen, that when you're going out of this so-called boiling pot or something special, that it would that the outside world will greet you with understanding that you're looking just a little different, you smell different, you feel different, you look different. And that's a good thing because, well, I mean, it's just for a form of speech. We do not fight for recognition. We do not seek recognition in a way other than that which will come directly and naturally from what what it is that we're doing. If I paint paintings, and I can show you some paintings now, maybe I should have a chance to now and then kind of discuss with you about painting. But uh, there is a call. There's a calling. How do you know when you really created a a good, simple, comfortable, balanced, centered, out of the realm of that which is kind of predictable and so easy to define painting. You know, it, it it helps you to justify a long pause, and then in this long pause, you're coming back to a reality, even if it's just like 30 seconds, that is quite different from the one that just a minute ago you left, and you're so anxious to for this moment to arrive because you kind of worked on it, and you worked on its lack of sophistication. You worked on feeling comfortable in the zone of just okay. So it's like you know of your strengths, and you can live with it in peace. And uh, one of the aspects of your strengths is that you also instinctively react in addition to uh, whatever logic that you're going to make based on your knowledge or experience, or and hands-on involvement. um, I don't want to find myself living the world of art, the life of art itself, and realize that I'm a touch and go. I'm a here today, there tomorrow, or you know that I can create wonderful art, but still be kind of detached, and you would not be able to explain the disbursement, inevitable disbursements of self, of identity, of soul, of thought, of intent. I don't know, it's just a little too, I don't know, too 60s, 70s. I love it. I wish I would have been an adult in the 60s. That would have been a lot of fun. I'm not sure I would have been here the way I am now in one piece kind of thing. But anyway, uh, the 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 demands are incredible. They're they're um, decently accurate, and it. Uh, so you rush to your studio, and you said to yourself, "Oh, wait a second, what date is today? Yeah, I got like, oh my god, I got just a few days, over a month until the next exhibition." A full body of work, wanting to describe the architecture of a poor attempt to devalue certain things because you think it's not good for planet Earth. You don't think it's not good for the world. It's not good for the people, and you kind of place resentment, artistic resentment, in your. But you want to be safe with an introduction of excellence mixed with decency, and that it will be evident. So he's trying to go into this hole and fill it with all different kind of messages from cultures that speak for a line and a shape and a corner and a coming together and a light and shade uh, and just all this kind of um, permanence in beauty, in um, miniaturic reflections of established results that become uh, um, eternal as it's been used as a part of the material that shaped that era, that shaped that process, that shaped that journey, shaped that change. And yeah, okay, I think that I'm getting closer and closer to being really cliche now in describing these feelings. But the feelings are secondary to who you really are when you enter, and you need to, like, I have a 4x5. It's just one little tiny thing in my studio, and it is already a, a unpredictably sophisticated and complex web of choices of layers that adamantly were formed and applied, and now it rests in a in the wealth of mystery, it just settles into its given sturdiness, guaranteed um, glow of the stage, of its stability. As simple as that. So, okay, well, if I know that I can come into that zone that is demanding, once you kind of get the closer you get to that canvas, and what is it that you're going to do? What, stare at the canvas? That 4x5 that I was talking to you about. So I go there and everything makes sense. Any which way I look at it, from afar and close, and from 45-degree angle, from whatever. So it looks good. Looks like, okay, leave it alone. It's there, and then there's uh, just the the consideration of uh, you know, and that's a collective desire, to prevail, to triumph, to witness all this kind of movements that seem to be that they could be very hostile and very dangerous, but in the same token, you're still in your natural environment. If you're like in your studio, whatever, something very simple, very very yours, very intimate, very uh, individual, and very kind of full of uh, the, um, speaking the language that is absolutely familiar to you. I remember in 1997, I was up there in a wonderful studio of mine that I was living a really, really balanced, wonderful, creative changes and whatnot of my life. And then there was this a deep desire to copy. I mean, this is like what, 27, 28 years ago. And just imagine how many things we didn't have then. The computers were so. I don't think there were any iPhones. Maybe my first phone was this big or something. They were more like discs and CDs and and DVDs or whatever, and VHS. Um, but there was something that I realized early on, because I was very disturbed by my extreme ability in one medium, facing with complete lack of ability and inspiration or genuineness yeah, otherwise. Um, so I hated that feeling. So I did not manipulate anything in order to do anything other than just allow myself to be more at ease with the duration of that whatever is taking place, whether I will be aware of it or not, whether I will be participating or not, whether I will do something to make a difference or not, whether I will, Uh, so there is a fine line that you can borrow at any given time. Actually, borrow and you use it as a print. Kind of create your compartments and all these kind of fake divisions. Uh, Transparent, yes, yet solid. And you maybe because you were willing to let it go completely, then suddenly there are solutions that otherwise, if it was in your hands, otherwise would won't be able to reach the level of probability that allows it to introduce itself, to present itself. Then when you look at it, you realize, oh, for once in your life, you can see some footage and say, this is way too familiar. This is me. This is a portrayal of my energy, a portrayal of my attempts to, I don't know, be too predictable, to whatever it is that you want to name that you want to use. It doesn't matter. What matters is that into this group, many people can join. Many people belong in this kind of group. Most people should belong in this kind of group. This kind of group speaks for something that cannot taste displeasing, and it doesn't have a nature. It, it's not trying to repel anything. It's not trying to push anything away from itself. It doesn't. It doesn't resist, not by just holding and not letting it advance, or holding and pushing. So you even it doesn't matter. But just that moment where you raise your arms to the center of your chest and you just want to kind of be separated, which in more ways than one is something we should be able to live with. We want to have a moment so we can express something that we want to express alone. And you just go around again, second time around, we'll be joining you, and that's exactly what's taking place. That's exactly what will take place. So then you're going back into that, whatever you want to call it, and you would invigorated, you like, it's like my 11-year-old son will say, it was really easy, and then as I was trying to explain to him that easy or not, you have to treat it with respect, he immediately said something that made me understand that he is indeed respecting it. Even though that's when he used these two words, then I knew I was in good hands. Even though when he proceeded to say that this and that and 1, 2, 3 and ABC and da da da, then I knew he's actually. I don't even need to stay long enough to hear the rest of what he has to describe. I I allowed myself to anchor. Yeah, if you can trust something enough to free yourself from it, and that's probably one of the best things you'll do in your life. And that also being, if you're an artist, forget about it. You will fly high so quickly. And you know what? Nothing wrong with saving time, especially in a world where you know, we're just visiting, What a concept. But yes, in as says speaking the same language. But that language, that language is a part of that creative process. You're actually speaking of paintings. Speaking of yesterday, when I drew all these images, and they were so regular, but yet so a part of my not so distant memory. It's like and it's actually comfortably filed. So I did something right, and it's not up and not down. It's just there. It's just like in an environment where it has enough to prevent any damage, any deterioration. I love the word deterioration. Dispersing into the thin air, just vaporizing. Oh, deteriorating and vaporizing. Yeah, it has a bit of each, and then anyway. But this is only to become closer to a strength that we take for for granted, and which is a good thing. But also we gotta be careful. People need to be reminded, especially when it comes to important applications of whatever, many things to apply. You learn constantly, then you have something to apply. If you have something new, like almost every second, and I'm gonna, hmm, hmm, hmm. This donut is so. Look, I'm like an old man. I have this napkin with a donut inside, with the donut. Oh my god, that's so weird. I'm so glad you don't see it on the table. Well, I tell you, this is like my fix for the morning: donut and coffee. So think I'm gonna reach for my glasses. I don't know what it is that I want to see that I can't see. But let's just see what kind of what phase we are in here. Oh yeah. Okay. So just to remind you, we're sitting here May 20th year, 2024 on a Monday morning here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. Just to remind you of the art show that we have on display. Matt Rayner, an exquisite artist, really, with great, great art here on the corridors of East Hampton. And we're celebrating his work, and that's until the first week of June, and then we coming up with a really wonderful, high-powered three artists that are pretty much with huge impact, and hope that will that people will make it your business, make it their business to come and check it out at LTV Studios on 75 Industrial Road in Wainscott, New York. But anyway, just the concept that we have here within the station for 27 years now, monthly shows of that has a uniqueness by it, mainly by the fact that we don't have an attitude of galleries or things like that. We're not like sales or not sales oriented. It's just like walls for the public. And I had the honor to curate it for many years since the early days of Sabina Hindra that initiated it 3 decades ago almost, and did such a wonderful job. And I just kind of continued from where she left on the basis of what she left behind, which is in wonderful. So yeah, that's what's going on in addition to about 200 other things and productions here at LTV on stage, music, theater, you name it. Um, you can check us online and get all the schedules and everything. And but here within this show that from the early days of Fraser Dougherty, where when I became acquainted with the LTV in the early '80s, I realized already then that there is something weird but valuable. I was luckily I myself was somewhat peculiar in my habits and ways, and maybe being a little too meticulous about things that I, if I think about it later, afterwards, it don't make sense why I behaved the way I did. But then I decided not to be too harsh on myself. I decided to just give myself a little break, a little more break actually and you can only do as much as you can do, and and you're quite sure that you don't need reminders. It's this feeling, this feeling. But every time I feel this way, that I really actually don't need to be reminded, not as much, not as often. Then I realize that I have to give myself another crash course, and immediately I know that I need to, because this is the go ahead for complacency to form uh, some kind of, again, we're better off without it. I'm better off without it. So the approach and the style, which I find or recognize my place in that I like sometimes to get out of myself and to just watch a little bit, just pretend. It takes a lot of acting skills to convince myself that I'm actually in a different place now. I'm actually really actually a little higher and really observing the subject, and I'm not mixed up with whether this subject happens to be me myself. It's just irrelevant to the task. Being able to follow the requirements of that for that task to be realized, to become a little more than what it already is. And you're going to go to the studios and you're going to go to the galleries, and those artists, they're going to walk you as they please to walk you, as you would find it almost impossible not to end up doing what they anticipated and expected and predicted and did. You'd be amazed. So we're like we're like tools in the hands of the exception to the rule that made it its business to make itself available for the touch of the public, for the observing of the public, for the attention of society. Yeah. So, and then even the most doubtful, second guessing, doomsday scenario character cannot argue with the implications of what's standing in front of us. Yes, and you look at it and you want to say, "Oh, that's a piece of crap," and I hate it with passion, even though you know better than expressing yourself in a way that will confine you eventually later on to a point where you just cannot take that statement back. But in any case, in that sense, you are faced with a a point in time that a very courageous decision was taking place, and it did take place, and it did shoot you far enough to understand and grasp the magnitude of the task, which is a wonderful thing to be able to have kind of a brief momentarily, like what document and come back, something like that. And because in those very back rooms of constant creativity, as you have to imagine it when you go there. I mean, oh yeah, right now I go to my studio and I look at the canvas and who am I? I need to be able to convince myself that I'm the ruler of this world in order to be able to accomplish anything. Now, who wants to go through it every time? No, the surface demands from you. It tells you what it needs, what it wants, what it must have. It just communicates with you in its own way. We may be a little weird, but clear enough. It just wants what it wants, how it wants, when it wants, how much it wants. The sooner you accept it, the less details you would have to go through later on trying to evaluate. Well, did I get rid of it altogether or not yet? So, especially when you want to come back home to the home of the emotional safety and the social decency. And you have to come clean, and that coming clean, that means there's no room for dirty. You just like continuing clean into some kind of a guaranteed pure, somewhat journey pathway, you know uh, channels of mobility, something like this, and 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 implementing the basics that you will have to find yourself revisiting more often than you ever thought you'd have to. Oh yeah, yeah. Go back to basics. I remember I played with some heavy duty freestyle hitters, and it was like it was open, and then we widened it into and then there's a a feeling of sudden vulnerability, too much exposure or something like that, and then the line that separates becomes so fine that it's like beyond transparent. It's like there but not there, and so so you hear that voice telling you, go back to basics, revisit your neighborhood, and you can always go to the then but with the conviction of an acoustic drum set, and a bass player that knows exactly its own requirements, and it's a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to create somewhat of a third entity that's just comfortably crosses that first obstacle and going fairly frictionless. So that's a place you want to be, but you say, oh my God, so much price to be paid here. Just one encounter. And I'm like exhausted. I mean, not thinking about, okay, with time it will be easier and all that. It felt emotionally draining, which, I mean, if you think about it seriously, you say, but of course it's going to have to drain you emotionally. It's just sucking the life out of all this potential future evil that comes into your system with every inhaling of this encounter. Engaging in itself, that's the damage. But you want to sail directly into the beginning of the solution. You'll become acquainted with the solution only after you will commit to become a part of the solution. And you will, because that's your nature. So the dialogue takes place in the midst of that process of becoming. Can you imagine? That's like fairly out there. But you feel comfortable with that concept, and you feel that you can understand beginning, middle, and end. Not, I mean, repeating it exactly every time, but I mean, you have a, a come and going and going, come, and you have duration, you have distance, and you have point of references that kind of tell you in more ways than one where you are and how what angle and all this. But the chain of thoughts has to be also in control, because when you anchor every time now and then and all this, you will okay, and then you actually deliver your own inner description of let's be very adamant in going back to basic comfort. So you you want to check every square inch of your body. If there's just any kind of bruise or something, and I think you're kind of good to go, and just a little bit kind of forward and make believe with your shoulders that you don't have this, which I don't care so much. But anyway, kind of nice until you get really tired and you go, why did I do that? But anyway, this is going to affect your painting, because this is going to be your impact. So usually we're like this. It's okay. It's fine. It's actually very kind of comforting. Comforting, see? But then when you go to the canvas, you don't want to do this, but I mean, you want to be like that. You want to do this and go back, even. That's fine. You don't want to do this. Okay. You want to do this, but you won't do this. Instead of doing this, you do this. Okay. So it works. And you want to just have somewhat of an okay impression. And I know I wanted that. I know I still want that, especially when I'm reaching this territory that is unfamiliar. And suddenly I'm like saying, if I'm going to stop now, I will never be able to approach this again, because there's so many hot wires simultaneously that I had to really address it for completion. So, and, there's much to be said about the level of kind of very basic human decency. Things happening and you look around and you just remind yourself someone must be responsible for all this, whatever it is. Doesn't matter what I will describe. Any kind of effort on behalf of good energy, whether you do things for yourself or for the community or both. It's just that wondrous residues of this encounter, this revelation. There's actually, it doesn't have much to suggest that indeed it is a revelation, but it is a revelation still nevertheless. So you get to a point where you can be playful, but you can be resolute at the end of the day. You can plant resolution as you enter that zone of playfulness, and then you can exit from it. You can become just a normal person, like the one that just on its way to the post office to check for the mail, to return a book in the library, and pick up something from the supermarket, and put some gas, and then turn around because you forgot to get your favorite bagels, and it's there, and you're gonna go get them, and you're doing it. And in between, you're thinking about that annoying edge of that canvas, of that painting, that composition. So unfair was to me last night when I thought I just completed and closed in on something that I needed to close in on, but for some reason I messed up a little bit. But it's not a big deal, but it's not done. So you're revisiting it, and you're finding out that it's not good to go. I mean, even if it's just a little tiny bit, a little off, it's you might as well say it's 200 million miles apart from each other. You know? It becomes that monstrous, that kind of what in the face of perfection. You feel you're finding something that is just like just delays it for 1 second or 2 seconds. It's like eternity is taking over. This is the age of melancholia because 1 second managed to flash itself in the territory where you were, and then you saw it. You said, "I'm doomed. I'm doomed." Then there was a way out for you because you were such a complete, perfect artist that you are. And you managed to work your way out of it just by convincing people without being obvious at all that you did at all convincing anyone, because people can appreciate quality. They can appreciate truthfulness. They appreciate the value that it reflects vis-a-vis your dedication and that decency to maintain decency, even more so than just decency for the sake of using it for something, which is good. But we always want to take it a step further, and we haven't spoken our last word yet. But can you come together with this concept at its lightest moments and at its most completed, puzzling, undeciphered piles of things in. I don't know, but I can continue and describe it. Uh, but there will come a moment that you will see it, and it doesn't matter what it is, what kind of a presentation it carries for the hour or for the moment. You know who and what you're facing. It's a good place to be. And this changing of moods and elements and virtues and values and points of reference and code of conduct and social decency, man. I mean, it was always who wants to trust anything so completely, but we want to believe that the goodness that we feel can last, and 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 the rest is history. The rest is like we'll find out in 50 years or 30 years or whenever whether we were right or wrong. But going hand in hand and introducing that little friend of yours and saying, this is my reminder, and it works just fine. And you want to, and you want to be able to genuinely treasure it. Yeah, I love this word. And actually, that's the word I wanted to share with you to begin with, treasuring. So it's if I was to tell you, oh, close your eyes and see how you can become good and add goodness and treasure any energy that comes your way, and welcome people into your life by treasuring who you wished for them to be, expect them to be, understand them to be, and just draw all the goodness that obviously it will provide, and that's a given. But it's just Experience tells you cannot just go too lovey-dovey with these things. You don't just approach it like this with this wholeness and expect that you're going to be just welcomed and granted and no, but it does. I've tried it more than once. I think I think that if you can act well enough in order to convince yourself that yes, you are genuine, yes, you are serious, yes, you are even in the level of intensity that of how you feel about it and how you accept it and how it can help your life or blend with your life and how it can cause you to also be helpful to others. Yeah, of course. So in that sense, treasuring, I treasure that immediacy. And I said, well, oh, thanks for your time. And it looks at me and it says, well, it's about time. And I said, yeah, you're right. So from now on, this mindfulness is not going to go away, not going to reduce in intensity. And since I don't know, for quite a while to come, I'm still going to face that canvas and say, what's up with that? And then, of course, I will have the right answer. And by the time I will have the answer, it will be almost too late for that statement to come to fruition because the painting has already been accomplished. Don't ask me, but it happened to me more than once. So, anyway, I wanted to thank you for your patience and for your courtesy to allow me to sit here and talk for an hour, whatever. Maybe there were some lines there and words that will remain in your immediate memory or short and long term recollections. And other than that, we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this morning, Monday morning, May 20th, year 2024, here with the Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. Um, Wishing for you this coming weekend, Memorial Day weekend, a big weekend. I wish for you to be cool and calm. And it's going to be a lot of traffic, a lot of people, but they all want to have fun. You want to have fun. I want to have fun. We just want to walk around and enjoy and say, love it. So we love you out there, and we want you to understand that we realize the extent of your contribution, and we urge you to, you know, eh, continue non-waveringly. And we appreciate it. We send you our blessings, and come and visit here at LTV for the group art shows Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and also check the calendar for LTV for theater, music, and whatnot. It's happening, and God bless you, and we love you, and we send you the best energy. Enjoy this wonderful weekend to come. I got 3 more recordings before Memorial Day, so I'm just gonna push the issues to their extreme with your permission and help.